It's Graham Callis, so clap! On today's video, we're going to hear how Grammy Whammy changed himself to fit the needs of his girlfriend at the time.
But she kept putting the pressure on, and then we started sleeping together. And the next thing I knew, I was in a bathtub putting punky hair color into my hair.
Hey guys, it's Adam here, and as I said at the beginning, we've got Graham Callis telling a great story about dating a goth girlfriend and her desire for him to change himself. If you want to do us a favor and hit the subscribe button here on YouTube, you can also hit the notification bell. That helps a ton. And if you want to help even more, you can go to patreon.com/Madison Story Slam, where you can become a patron of the show. Graham is a great storyteller. This is his third time telling a story at Madison Story Slam, and each time we've loved it. They've been great stories. I think this might be my favorite story he's told. It's about changing yourself to fit into the relationship that you're in and kind of learning from that. And we love that you know, that it happens to be about a goth girlfriend, and Graham is not goth at all, and he's got to change himself to be able to stay in the relationship. Here's Graham.
So let me just get something out of the way real quick. Last month I told a story here. The theme was breaking point, and I got to the end of the story and I could not remember the end of it. And I stood here for felt like hours, trying to remember the last few lines of my story, and I couldn't do it. And I think I figured out why, and that's because the end of my story was so insightful and enlightening. Humanity is just not ready to hear those words yet. So I still can't remember what the end of that story is, and if I ever do, I will be sure to start the story with those very important lines. But let me get on to my story for tonight. Peer pressure. The worst offense that you can have in a relationship is to attempt to change the other person. And that is something that I hold those words very dear these days, but 20 years ago I did not know that, and I am guilty of having tried to pressure into someone that I was in a relationship with to change, and I have also been the subject of being pressured into changing as part of a relationship. And that came at the hands of a girl that I dated in college named Jane. And Jane and I met through a college organization, and she was very much she dressed very goth. And if you know what people who dress goth are like, they wear lots of black makeup. They tend to like vampires a lot. I don't know if it was purposely pale of skin or not, but she was as goth could be. I was not, in any shape or form. But in college, I had trouble with self-identity, and I really didn't know who I was, and I just wanted to make her happy. So we had only been seeing each other for a little while when she was in my dorm room and said, you should get more black for your wardrobe and get some flannels, and that would be great. And I said, I don't know if I really want to do that. I kind of like the t-shirts, the Ocean Pacific t-shirts that I was wearing at the time. And she looked at me and she said, Grammy Whammy needs more black in his wardrobe. And I was like, oh, she really did say that. She said Grammy Whammy. She called me that all the time. And I said, okay, so I got more black for my wardrobe. I bought some flannels. I learned that it's really cool to wear a t-shirt, a short sleeve t-shirt over a long sleeve t-shirt. Bought some Doc Martens. Started to phase into this goth transformation that she was pressuring me into. I had an earring at the time, and the next phase in her plan was you should wear an ear cuff. And I was like, what is an ear cuff? And she showed me the one that she had, and it goes on your ear, and then it has a little chain that connects down to the stud. And she let me wear hers for a while, and then eventually I went out and bought my own. I just wanted to make her happy, because I thought that if she was happy, then I would be happy. Another mistake that I commonly made in relationships back then. I needed to listen to industrial music. I was into grunge, like most people in the 90s. Smashing Pumpkins was my favorite band of all time. They still are today. And so I went further down the downward spiral, and I learned about the beautiful people from Mr. Manson. And the next step was she said, I think you should dye your hair red. Now, my hair 20 years ago was a fairly kind of dusty brown, and I really didn't want to dye my hair red. I was really opposed to that, so I kind of resisted. But she kept putting the pressure on, and then we started sleeping together. And the next thing I knew, I was in a bathtub putting punky hair color into my hair. And when you try and dye kind of dirty brown hair red, it doesn't really go bright red. It goes kind of a rose-colored, horrible rose color. So it looked atrocious, and I was not very proud of it. And the final thing that she wanted me to do is she came up to me one day and she said, "You need more metal." And I said, "But I thought we liked industrial music." I was already purchased some industrial music, and I thought that's what we were listening to now. But if I liked metal, so if she wanted me to buy some metal CDs, that was great. I was on board with that. But that's not what she meant. What she meant by that was that we would go to the hardware store and buy the pull chain that you would see like hanging from a ceiling fan or from a light on the ceiling. And then we would buy washers and nuts and string them on these pull chains, tie them onto our belt loops on both sides of our pants, and attach them down on our Doc Marten shoes. Then we would go to the mall and walk between the food court and Hot Topics. And it was the most embarrassing thing that I have ever done. And you know how echoey it is in the mall, hallways of a mall. It was like goth sleigh bells as we walked down. Everybody was looking at us, and it was just embarrassing. So the transformation was complete. I was full goth at that point. There were no pictures of me from that time, so let's not go looking for any of those. I did pull together enough courage and willpower to finally end that relationship.